Hello, and welcome to the Movie Universe. I'm your host, Movie Fan. Today, I'll be playing The Warriors on the PS2. If you've already seen the movie, then you know what the game's all about. If you haven't seen the movie, it's really simple. It's about a gang called the Warriors. They go to a big meeting with all the big gangs, and the leader of one of the biggest gangs in all of New York wants to unite them all so they can take over the city. But he's killed by a rogue gang member for no reason at all, and the Warriors are blamed for it. So they have to flee for their lives back to their turf, which is Coney Island. That's pretty much the gist of the story. The game, however, actually adds more to it. Because in this game, you get to see how it all came together before the big meeting. And one of the coolest things is you get to play as all the major characters in the movie. It differs from level to level as to who you get to play, and while you're playing as these various characters, you are fighting your biggest rival gang, the Destroyers, until finally you get the big showdown between the Warriors and the Destroyers. And when you win, you take over Coney Island. And the Destroyers are basically destroyed. Big pun intended. And while you're doing the mission, you get to unlock origin stories to every one of the characters. So you get to see how Cleon and Vermin form the Warriors, and how the rest of them join up. And of course, when you're not doing your missions, you get to build up your stamina by doing push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and of course you can work on your fighting skills by hitting the heavy bag a few times. As you can see, you gotta hit a certain amount of moves and do a certain amount of push-ups and so on, all within the time limit. When you beat that time limit, you get stronger. You get better with your fighting skills. There's even missions you can do around Coney where you can get like all kinds of help. Like if you do a certain job for somebody, you get to use knives and all kinds of weapons a lot better. If you accomplish one mission, you get to have brass knuckles and steel-toe boots, which will really help your fighting ability. And while you're on missions, you get bonus points if you put your symbol over the other gang's tag. To put it simply, you go through all these missions, you build up your stamina, you build up your strength, your fighting ability, you take down the Destroyers, and when you finally make yourself famous all throughout the city, you are invited to go to the big meeting. And when you go to the meeting, it's straight out of the movie. I'll give you an example.
Still on, and we're going. Cyrus sent an emissary this afternoon to make sure. Now, Cyrus don't want anybody packed, and he don't want anybody flexing any muscle. Can you count, suckers? I say the future is ours. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pretty cool, huh? And when Cyrus gets killed and you're blamed for it, of course you have to try and get back to Coney, just like in the movie. And you are going through the same exact areas. However, they're taking some liberties with it. Instead of you just running and running and running and running the whole time, you can actually fight some bad guys. You can sneak your way through. You can tag the other guy's turf just because you want to do it. And in the end, it still plays out like the movie did. That is what I call awesome. And if there was a point system for this, I would think that this actually supersedes the movie. Now, don't get me wrong, the movie is awesome, but you got to admit, 90% of the time, all they're doing is running. Here, you get to fight. You get to tag the other guy's turf. And not to mention, you get an origin story for every one of the characters, including as to how the gang got together in the first place. And it doesn't compromise the story in any way. In fact, it enhances it. And I'll tell you an interesting fact here. Before this game came out, I never heard of this movie. It was one of those cult classic movies that only a select people knew about. But then when this game premiered, all of a sudden, they were playing it on the movie channels, they were selling the DVDs. The fact is, the game made the movie famous again. It made people like me who had never seen it before, who had never even heard of it, want to watch it. So if you love the Warriors, and if you love just good fighting games where you get to beat the living tar out of people just because you can, this is definitely for you. So if you ever come across it, get it. Trust me, you are gonna love this game. This is Movie Fan, signing off.